Boom! We are on recording. We are live. Thank you, everyone, for joining us. My name is Alon. This is What the Block. Brand new show. We're just putting it together to meet fascinating and awesome people in the blockchain space. I'm really excited today because we have Dr. Adel Elmessiry with me today, and Adel is an early blockchain guy. He has a PhD in and researches this space really well, and he has a new concept that he's putting together for something called DLN. So we'll dive into that in a second. But before we do, make sure you participate live. If you go to the LA Blockchain Summit YouTube page or LinkedIn page, make sure to subscribe there so you're notified next time we go live. But also, if you leave comments in there right now, talk in there right now, we might be able to bring you onto the screen or bring your comment on the screen and talk about it towards the end of our conversation. So feel free to jump in there and talk to us there and join the conversation. Adel, how are you doing?
Good. It's another sunny day in Nashville, Tennessee.
All right, I like it. You're not dressed for a sunny day, so.
No, it's sunny but cold.
yeah.
Hey, you're overdressed, man. I haven't seen you in a shirt in a while.
I got buttons, one of those days, back-to-back meetings online, so I put on the nice shirt with the buttons. Adel, give us, would love a little background about you so the audience can hear, some of the things you've researched, some of the things you're working on and have worked on.
Sure. So I come from an academic family. My dad is a professor, uncle is a professor, other uncle is a professor. So I had to get my PhD just to sit on the dinner table. When I started doing my research work, I was doing something called trust networks, which was a bit stagnant in 2010 until that unknown guy, Satoshi, came up with blockchain. So all of a sudden, blockchain is a trust network. So the research really boomed. And I found myself in a lot of conferences, talking, publishing, working within the space around what is blockchain, how it would work, and how it will change the entire globe and everything that we do, as well as AI. So that's the other part that I always like to work in, because I feel that AI is going to augment our capabilities and what we are trying to do. And every year I publish papers, usually in applied blockchain, applied AI. Couple papers usually in there, some in tokenomics, some in how systems would work, and kind of like trying to push the boundaries of how we apply them, not necessarily new kind of like scientific things, because I don't like to spend a lot of time on theories that will be in the future. Maybe somebody else like that. I like to feel how it will benefit people.
Yeah, I mean, it's fun, I always see stuff from academics and things like that, and all joking aside, because I love to talk trash and make jokes. It's really fascinating to read some of these papers and see some of these concepts and things like that. But when we originally met, one of the things that we liked about you, and full disclosure, DGH are investors in Alphafin, Adel's company. One of the reasons we fell in love with you when we wanted to work with you was because you were one of the few academics we'd met that gets shit done. When we talk about an idea, something would happen. You're obviously great at writing papers and doing things like that, but you would show us work you've done or things you've built, and that's sometimes very different. Usually, a lot of times academics will have teams around them to do things like that, but you actually have a bit of both sides of that to you, and you like to obviously apply it. One of the things, you give a plug to your YouTube show as well. Adel does 5-minute videos in Arabic to bring the Arabic world into the blockchain space as well, Arabic speaking world, obviously.
Yeah, so thank you very much about that. So one of the things that kind of like struck me as I'm like doing a lot of work, I've done a blockchain summit in Cairo, Egypt, and in Dubai and Qatar and other places. But in those areas, there is a lot of really good talent that haven't heard about blockchain that much. and there is a lot of people over there that haven't the faintest idea what blockchain is. They only know Bitcoin, and that's it. So it's kind of like what we know here back in the 2016, 2015 kind of thing. So I thought to myself, if you know English, you could probably go and look at a ton of other good people that provide resources online. But what if you don't know English, or English is your third language or second language? How can we get to you in your own element? And then there is a lot of people that like to talk, like they make a lot of episodes for like an hour episode that they keep regurgitating the same thing over and over again without really getting a piece of information through. And because I like to like have an effect, like make things meaningful, I thought, okay, what's the least amount of time that you could do something in? And that is 5 minutes. After 5 minutes, you kind of like zoning off, and kind of like, even when I'm teaching courses, the students will like zone off after 5 minutes. You have to keep engaging them, and that's all idea. And in Middle Eastern culture, khamsa also has another connotation to it, which is kind of like the good luck. So yeah, khamsa means good luck. So so I thought, hey, why not name the channel Khamsa Tech? Means 5 minute of technology, and address the two topics that I know something about, which is the AI and blockchain specifically. And thank you for encouraging me. And it's like, was a great hit. So I got like lots of people saying we were trying to understand it, but like when you talk about it in English, it's one thing, but when it is in our element, now we know what it is about, and they can watch it on their bus, on commute, wherever they're going, much faster. So come visit it.
Very cool. Yeah, I think well, we constantly talk about the promise of blockchain, creating a borderless world, creating a more fair, level playing field, all of these things, distributed, decentralized. But at the same time, if you aren't technologically inclined, if you don't speak the right language, if you can't access it, then you can't access it. Like most of DeFi, you need to have a MetaMask, right? Or up until recently, you'd have to use a desktop or a laptop, a computer, not just on your phone. And every step along the way of making it more accessible actually fulfills that promise. Because right now, if we're being honest, it's mostly for people who are, if not more educated in a traditional sense, more educated in technology and have access to certain things, right? So, having multi-language support on some of these products, encouraging other countries and people who speak other languages to participate, furthers the whole reason we're all here, right? So that's why I love it. So let's dive into Alphafin, what you're working on today. Tell us a little bit about Alphafin, and then we'll dive into the DLN concept.
Sure. So the same, if we take what we have been talking about right now and just extrapolate it. So not a lot of people understand blockchain because of language barriers, and not a lot of people that know about blockchain understand the revolution it will unlock. So today, we've lived through the first wave, in my opinion, which is digital assets. You create something that is not a digital file, that you can not just take a picture and double spend it and all of the stuff. So that creates actual assets that are digital. They're not physical. You can still hold them, sell them, and so forth. And then the next wave is DeFi, where we basically took those same systems that we've used and dealt with actual physical assets, like being able of borrowing against them, being able of making interest on them, and enter into different contracts on all of that stuff. Think about your house, your car, all of those pieces. And we moved them into the blockchain. So the question then started to arise is within that fintech space, in order for blockchain to really reach its full potential, we have to find a way to bring the technology and bridge the current financial technology with what's coming, the next wave of having all the banking and all the transactions done on the blockchain. That's what precipitated Alphafin, kind of like the concept of helping the mainstream organizations wean off the current infrastructure into the new one. Are you familiar with infrastructure inversion? So
I'm not sure what that means. What's infrastructure inversion?
So it's a phenomena that actually happens in almost all technologies out there. Take, for example, the telecom. So originally we had the internet runs over landlines, and you
Oh,
had
I know where you're going. Okay, keep going though.
so basically we had to kind of like use the existing rails, and at some point in time it inverted, it flipped, and allowed us to really use the voice now. And what we are doing today is run over TCP/IP, basically the internet. And same thing is happening with the blockchain and fintech. The blockchain right now still uses regular fintech on it to get onboarded, but in just a little bit, the opposite will happen. You will see the entire banking and what we call as financial systems, they evolved to become on top of the blockchain. And Alphafin is designed to bridge that gap, help everybody move into that piece.
Very cool. So I love that. So I totally understand. I just didn't know the term, probably because I was a bad student, and I don't, you know, I'm not a PhD like you. So, but
give me something to do.
But you know, by the way, that's the reason why you have a well-rounded team, right? So I totally understand that high-level concept, but one of the concepts that, you know, you and Joseph were talking about when we first originally met in the blockchain and booze events, and these ideas that we've had for many years are becoming more and more a reality. And one of those ideas were around microfinance, and you created the concept and shared the light paper, and a bunch of people in the community have contributed now to the light paper there and are participating at DLN.org, the Decentralized Lending Network. So tell everyone what, you know, the vision or idea for Decentralized Lending Network is, and maybe how they can come participate and help shape it and see if this thing launches or you know, see what happens next.
So one of the things that I really love about you and Joseph is that we are trying to bring blockchain to the mainstream. It's not like for the few selected people that know how to use it, but really we want to have everybody benefit from that. And one of the things that exists right now is that margin of people between them very poor and they can make ends meet. Those people don't have any options on how can they make ends meet there. They cannot get traditional loans, and they cannot get into a banking system because they don't have enough, and they cannot borrow against a collateral because they don't have a collateral. The closest thing that comes close to help serving them are micro loans, and that has been shown to be very effective. One, it's a $150 billion industry right now with 100 million people using it across the globe. But it reached the peak of what it can do with the current fintech technology there. And the reason there is that there are still fees around the entire system. The system is slow. It does not exist everywhere. And you are taking the money out of the community, and you are not creating a sustainable, self-serving mechanism and not getting the entire community together. So we were thinking, hey, how can we benefit from the latest advancement in DeFi to bring the entire community together? And that's the epiphany. Why not flip DeFi on its head? So today, if you look at Andre Cornier's work, everybody out there, they are maximizing the yield for the DeFi. What if we try to maximize the impact? Is it possible? Can it be done? And the answer is yes. So that led to the invention of something called social staking. Social staking contract is a way to use your friend's collateral to back you up. So, you know, like how you go and say, hey, I need a bit of money, and you and Joseph lend me all of the stuff. So now you are actually backing me. In a traditional lending, you would have only two people, the lender and the borrower, and the lender needs to mitigate the risk in your proposal. So you need to give him a collateral. But if we can get all my friends to back me and say like, hey, we want to back you with our assets, then you guys are taking on the risk for my loan here. Hence, it becomes a risk mitigated debt position, fully collateralized for the lender. And hence, there are no issues with that. And the lender can give me the loan much easier. But wait, there is even more there. Because we are backing into DeFi, we are able of maximizing the yield on the actual assets. instead of them being stagnant. And at the end of the day, we use those to reward the liquidity provider and the friends that helped, as well as make my loan free. So no interest, no fees. It's just helping me to get out of there. So that's like the epiphany that came out with DLN.
That's exciting, and the idea is also for this to be open source and available to all sorts of platforms. So if somebody wants to build a microlending product in a developing country for a specific niche market or anything like that, they'll be able to sort of tie into this network.
That's a really fundamental good question. So one of the things that I've seen a lot is companies trying to create something, close it, and just use it. But that's like short-sighted. We want to build an infrastructure so that a lot of people will be able of using that instead of just thinking about like the immediate benefit out of it. And by building an open source, open infrastructure for the internet of microlending, there are a plethora of things that can be built on top of it. One idea is microlending, you mentioned that. Another is student backing. Today, if I have 2 kids in college, and if I take a loan, I'll have to pay interest on the student loan. Why can't I put them into school and get paid for backing them up into the school? Why do I have to pay the interest, or they have to pay interest? There's a whole plethora of the student debt going on, and you hear people way into their 30s and 40s say like, I just finished my student debt. Why is that happening? We have the power finally using DeFi to abolish all of that stuff. And I'm not going to build it. I'm just building the infrastructure that allows everybody else to build. That's why I'm calling the community, come help, join, build, tell us where to go, build on top of what I do. There might be some other application that you guys thought of, I've never thought of. So come help, join, let's build it.
I love it. It's so funny. In my background, my previous startup that I launched pre all of this stuff, I launched it in 2008 actually originally, and then various iterations as it grew, was in sort of microfinance. We called it social fundraising at the time, but then the word crowdfunding existed, and sometime around 2013 I actually built a mining rig in my office because we were like, oh, here there's this thing called Bitcoin, and our biggest problem at the time was people transacting in small amounts of money, because the Visa rails would charge you 30 cents per transaction plus whatever percentage. The percentage was negligible. The 30 cents ruined it. It made it so that people couldn't do $1 transactions and things like that without it being just ridiculously expensive. So we tried it, we goofed around with it, and we're like, this is never gonna work, because it was just so complicated at the time. So what's different now, like what exists now, that didn't exist before, that makes this better? Like Kiva exists already, and there's already crowdfunding platforms, and there's consumer lending or peer-to-peer lending products. But what does the blockchain enable? The social staking part could be done, in a centralized fashion, right? So in a way, so what's better today, or why is now finally the right time for this? Because obviously, just my company wasn't the only one attacking this problem. There's other people trying over the years.
So there are at least 3 reasons why we are able of doing that right now. So one is blockchain itself, by reducing the costs of transaction. So if I wanted to send a friend of mine in Amsterdam $100, I'll probably have to pay $45 in fees just to send them, the money. But on Light Network or Tezos, I can send him a lot of that money with no problems at all, and it will cost me like a quarter. So it's a huge thing. And if I happen to send him that on Friday afternoon, he probably will not get that money until Monday morning. So it's my money, but it's taking a lot of time, and it's taking a lot of cost. So it's inefficient service right now. And then the global nature of where we are exacerbates the problem. So if you are in a certain location, you all can help and pitch together. But if you live across the globe. I can't help my friend in Amsterdam, and we together cannot help my friend in Cairo. So all of that adds additional inefficiencies in the system that we have overcome right now. And then the other aspect of, like, when you look at current existing models, like mentioned Kiva and others for microlending, the model depends on having people that would validate and verify. But the network blockchain, by definition, is trust built in. So it's a verified network. You don't need all of that stuff there. So we're moving the efficiencies there. And the final piece of that, it's not magic. It's all basically economics and calculated, meaning that the DeFi that is allowing us to create much higher yield. Take, for example, DMM. Today you can get 6.25% just like with no risk with stable tokens, right? Same thing with return. So all of those are things that I am planning to utilize those money Legos to build the network on just smart pieces implementation for there that allows us to usher in a different way of thinking about it. You and your friends can help each other. That's it.
Yeah, I mean, the fundamental reason I was trying to use Bitcoin or whatever in 2013 is because, you know, all of these rails existed. They still exist. Like I just, you know, I've been saying this a few times lately because it's this recurring thing, but like when you look at a bank, when you look at their homepage, 90+% of what you see is not the bank's technology. Like the bank does a lot of proprietary things, but none of their technology, or very little of their technology, is proprietary. They use different rails for you to buy and sell shares of stock. They use different rails for you to deposit money and withdraw money. They use different rails for wiring money, transferring money, and depending on size, you know, like all these things are different technology products behind the scenes that are doing this. And each one of those companies takes a piece of something, and then the bank takes a bigger piece. You know, it's you know, what's really exciting about DeFi, of course, is that the same types of products that the banks somehow can't give you any yield on today are able to provide us when we go direct, when we cut out the middleman, when we don't pay for the real estate, pay for the chandelier and the multiple loan servicers and the CEO of the bank. Somehow we get a higher yield directly to the consumer. So to me, the fact that you can cut out the middleman and go back to, you know, community banking started and turned into what it is today, but started in communities. It started with communities coming together, pooling their resources to do things. And I feel like, you know, there's this opportunity now with DeFi to just go back to the basics, but in a way more efficient way. And so all of these sort of network effects and opportunities just get me so excited. Before we sneak off, yes, the middleman gets yield.
I want to just tell you a couple of quick things here. That, well, number one, from what you've said, blockchain is all about community. So that's what makes blockchain different. And look at what's happening to GME, GameStop, and others in the stock market, and all of that is us, the community, pulling together, are able of creating things much bigger. So that's the power of community there. And then also the very salient point on how the banks are using other services, and they now think about a much more efficient services like DLN under there, providing microlending as a service. You want to create a microlending system for whatever you want to do, like farming, perfect. Go to DLN, add up a couple APIs, and bam, you're done.
I love that future where, you know, the APIs are not run by groups, you know, by individual companies. Not that I think that individual companies are wrong or bad, but I like better things run by organizations like DAOs and by the people who use them. You know, like there's so many things. Like I remember running platforms for different companies, different organizations. Some of them were banks, some of them were individual startups. But when, you know, Twitter or one of the various groups within that you're using their APIs for powering the site changes their API or changes something in their system, you can take, you get taken down or you would be deplatformed. There's just all these issues, right? So DAO governed networks for creating these things makes so much more sense, because the people who build on top of it will be the people who get to guide the direction of where it goes. Like a cool example of that is Prime DAO right now. Prime DAO has the first ever DAO governed DEX router, decentralized exchange router, but also has the first ever DAO governed balancer pools, where the actual DAO and the community can vote on the changes to the pools and the dynamics over time. Like that's never happened before, and you're basically now creating community governed banking infrastructure. It's so exciting. So just such a fun future. Adel, thank you so much for coming. Before we go though, thank you for everyone who's participating live. What I'd like to say, and what I haven't quite yet shared, hold on, I've got all these graphics and things I want to throw up. Boom, we have Draper Goren Holm is doing more than 100 of these live things this year. Some of them are basic, like what I'm doing right now, and some of them are a little more complicated, like Blockchain and Booze every Tuesday night that Adam is doing, where you can network with the community and things like that. But we have LA Blockchain Summit at the end of the year. We're gonna have Global DeFi Summit again this year virtually. When we're gonna have the next big event is gonna be Security Token Summit. And last week you heard from Ziv, who's in that security token world. We're gonna have more people talk about that soon. But make sure you go to drapergorenholm.com. There's an events link, and there you'll see everything that's going on there. And also, make sure you subscribe at those places, like I said earlier, on YouTube and LinkedIn at the LA Blockchain Summit, so that you see us when we go live like this every Friday morning. Adel, thank you for coming. I hold on, I see an alert with another user that said something. Let's see if there's a good question or something in there. The banks are basically enterprise resource systems that use strategic partnerships and modules to increase their footprint. That's right. I mean, that's the idea. The banks are the customer support, are the marketing, are the front end interface for these products, and they're getting less and less sticky every day, right? So we're taking market share away from the ones who treat us badly and moving towards the ones that treat us right. And there's two sides of it, in my opinion, or two outcomes, right? They start adopting this type of technology because it's the fair and right thing to do, or actually three, or they compete, which makes their products better, and so the world becomes a bit of a better place. Or three, they go out of business, because if they don't do one of the first two, they will go out of business. It just is what it is, right? So Adel, thank you for joining me, and we will see you all again soon.
Sweet.
Thanks, everyone.